All right, that's us live. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Once again, if you are joining us, you are in the right place at the right time. And, this is the tribe, and this is a webinar on how to start your um, out journey in 2026. The end goal of this webinar is to guide people on how to transition into either IT or cloud computing. Generally, it's been a wonderful event. We started yesterday. We had our guest Olamide Abolaji take us through um, things that are necessary to become a cloud practitioner in 2026. So we're going to start today, and we're going to start shortly today. But before we start, I am just going to introduce our guest again. Our guest is Olamide Abolaji. Olamide Abolaji is the first and only AWS authorized instructor in the whole of West Africa. I can overemphasize that he is the only, is the first and only AWS authorized instructor in West Africa. So we are saying, if we're talking about the instructor that AWS authorized and say this is our instructor, he's the only person in West Africa. And we are so happy that it's not just in West Africa, and it's also in Nigeria. And we have him here with us today. He's going to take us through how to navigate your journey through cloud field in 2026. So today's going to be a lot of questions and answers. He was not able to finish yesterday his presentation. He's going to finish it today, and we'll move to question and answer. So Olamide Abolaji currently works with Makintouch Consulting in Nigeria. Makintouch Consulting is the first AWS training partner in Nigeria. So Makintouch is the first AWS training partner in Nigeria. Olamide is the first AWS authorized training instructor in West Africa. So he's a very passionate. He's very passionate about empowering the next generation of tech professionals through cloud education and mentorship. So he is an instructor. He also is into a lot of mentoring, mentorship program. As far as cloud and AWS is concerned, he has years of hands-on experience designing and implementing cloud solutions. And he's not just a newbie. He's not just a trainer by title. He's not an instructor by title. He has trained over 2,000 students across West Africa and international, right? And he has achieved an impressive 99% success rate in helping them pass AWS certification exams and secure high value tech roles. So if you want to go into cloud computing and you want to get certified and you want to pass exams and you want to be mentored, this is the right place for you, and he's the right person to guide you through that. Olamide's expertise spans across AWS cloud. He's also a web developer, and he has been at the forefront of delivering impactful training for not just for people, for organizations. He also trains in universities. He's also a community leader, right? So he trained in community events as well. As an active contributor to the AWS ecosystem, um, Olamide mentors aspiring cloud professionals, and he shares practical insights on how to build successful tech career. So if you want to start, if you're starting your tech career, you want to go into cloud computing, cloud engineering, any cloud profession, Olamide is the right person to guide you through that. He's also a strong advocate of career development, right? He blends technical expertise and actionable career guidance, making his sessions both insightful and inspiring. Some of us, people who were here yesterday, would bear witness to that. They will testify to that. His mission is clear. His mission is to unlock global career opportunities for learners through cloud skills and also transforming talent into leaders in the tech industry. So that is Olamide, right? Um, you know, the funny thing about this is I'm also a cloud professional myself. I work as a senior infrastructure engineer, and I'm 5 times AWS certified, right? Is I've been certified 5 times by AWS. From solution architecture, solution architect associate, solution architect professional, AWS DevOps, AWS system operation, um, AI practitioner. So I have all those certifications, right? So when I bring someone on to say, come and speak to us, I want you to know that it's because I can vouch for him, right? I can vouch for Lamide. He is going to is going to be answering all our questions today. If you have any questions, myself, I have. I was telling him yesterday that I have a lot of questions as far as cloud computing is concerned. So if you have a question, please don't forget to keep them. He will be here to uh, answer all those questions. I have also with me today who will be leading this program, Olamide Joseph. Olamide Joseph is one of Tech Tribe's management team. Is in charge of human resourcing and talent acquisition. So he's the one who manages our talent. We call her our talent manager. So he's here today to uh, guide us through this event. So sit back, relax. Olamide, can you confirm if you can hear me? I want to be sure you can hear me. Okay. I'm not sure you can. She can. Olamide, can you confirm if you can hear me? I can't hear you if you're speaking. Okay, she's not. So I want you to bring your questions. Send in your questions. The chat is opened. You can send your question wherever. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. Not Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. YouTube, Facebook. If you have friends who are interested in, if you have friends who are interested in cloud computing, please send the links to them. Let them join us. Well, I can guarantee you. You know, one of the things about cloud is I was telling I was telling some of our guys, was it a few days ago? One of the things about cloud is cloud and AI. Cloud and AI is the oil and gas of this age. All right, it pays. You understand? If you're looking for that profession that pays your bill, right? It is cloud computing. Now, one thing about starting a career is uh, the people who start first, they are the one who benefits most, right? Now, I started, funny enough, of course, I went into IT about 10 years ago, right? But I didn't start my cloud career until 2 years ago, right? I moved, I transitioned into cloud computing 2 years ago. I started tech 10 years ago. I've been a web developer. A developer. I was doing web development for years. I did software development for a while. I did UI UX, I did data analysis. You understand? I was just everywhere, right? Until I moved to cloud computing. Now, one thing about cloud computing, if you were here yesterday, one thing about cloud computing is you can be a cloud professional. You can be a cloud professional without learning how to code. Now, why most people are scared of IT is coding. That's why most people run from IT. Nobody wants to code. All right. But one thing about cloud computing is you can be a cloud professional. You can be a cloud professional without coding. You can be a cloud professional without coding. So if you want to be in IT and you are scared of coding, now this is the right career for you. Now that does not mean there are no parts of cloud computing that requires coding. There are, right? There are, but unlike other IT profession, right? That has to do with purely coding. I mean, you can be a web developer without learning how to code. You can be a software developer without learning how to code. In fact, you can be a data analyst. I mean, a proper data analyst. I'm not talking about, even if you learn Excel, you still have to learn uh, maybe SQL, right? To some extent, you still have to code, right? But for cloud computing, there are a lot of cloud computing uh, field, uh, cloud computing profession that you can function very well without learning how to code. Right? All you need to do. I mean, I believe some of you who are listening to me now yesterday how Olamide explained this. All right, you can be a cloud salesperson, right? You can even be a FinOps, right? FinOps is focused on FinOps, of course, from financial fin, then Ops operation, right? That's FinOps. So you can be a FinOps engineer. They even put engineer in front of it, but there's nothing engineering about it. It's more of management, managing cloud costs, right? All you need to do to be a FinOps, cloud FinOps engineer. And one thing I would say, a cloud FinOps engineer is like a new cloud field that's just thriving. So I was saying something earlier. It is the people who start early that used to reap the benefits, right, of a profession. So, for example, when cloud computing started, uh, when cloud computing started gaining wave, like 5, 10 years ago, I think that was 7, 10 years ago, right? And the requirement to get a job as a cloud professional was just practitioner knowledge, right? You just know, just have one or two understanding. So if you have that, then you will get the job as a cloud practitioner, right? And people who started there 10 years ago, they are now consultants. You understand? They are now consultants. So, but now, if you want to get a job as because a lot of persons are now doing it now, everybody is now a cloud practitioner now because a lot of persons are now doing it now. The demand to become a cloud, the demand to be employed has now increased. I mean, the yardstick has now increased, the requirement has now increased. Now they will now start asking you, you must know how to code. Then you don't need to know how to code to be a cloud practitioner, but it has changed now. So what I'm saying, there's still room for everyone. There's still room for you. You understand? There's still room for you. So why not take advantage of why not take advantage of it now? Why not take advantage of it now? I'll say something. Cloud and AI will rule the world for cloud and AI will rule the world for the next, let's say, I don't know. Cloud, okay, so the three most prominent profession now in the world of technology is cloud, AI, and data. Right? And I'm going to say why I say data. Cloud, AI, and data. I'm going to explain it. Now, Cloud. Why cloud? Cloud because um, everything every digital solution we had years ago, right, were stored on site, physical server, just like your flash drive, hard disk. You understand? Those were the physical tools that were used as hard drive, hard disk, flash drive, CD-ROM, and all those things. Those were the physical tools that were used as form of storage before. Now, we don't use all those things as storage anymore. We don't use all those as form of storage anymore. Sorry. What we use now is cloud storage. Yeah, sorry guys. So what we use now is cloud storage. So imagine it. That means every organization who were storing data on hard drive before, right? We now have to move their data from hard drive into cloud storage. That's one. When you build an application, for example, a website, when you build an application, for example, let's say a website, um, you would host the application, all right, in a server room or a data center, right? A data center is just like a very big um, place where you have so many computers, right? That's a data center. That's the simplest way I can put it. Then these things were hosted on in data centers, right? But now everything is being hosted on cloud, meaning everyone who has a website, everyone who has an application. I mean, every organization will have a website, you have an application, you have a digital solution, will need to transition into cloud. So imagine hundreds of thousands of companies that will need to employ a cloud professional to maintain uh, their digital assets. I want to believe you get what I'm saying. So there's still room for everyone, right? And it won't end in 50, 100 years time. So the only thing that will happen is that the requirement the requirement to become a cloud professional will become more stringent. You understand? So like I mentioned earlier, to get to land a job as a cloud professional 5, 7 years ago, you only need to know little. Right? But now you need to you need to have considerable amount of knowledge to get a job as a cloud professional. You understand? So in 5 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, the requirement will be more. Right. So why don't you start now? Why don't you start now? Now, so like I was saying, the three IT profession or field that you should focus on if you want to transition into IT: cloud, AI, and data. Right now, why is cloud at the top of it? Because your AI application, your AI tools are all hosted on cloud. Sorry, guys, I have a cough. So your AI application, your AI tools are all hosted on cloud. So at the end of the day, even if you're going to be an AI professional, you still need to learn cloud. Data. If you want to be a data professional, why is data very important? Because we are now in the world of artificial intelligence, right? And artificial intelligence depends so much on data. So much on data. There is no AI without data. And if you were in one of our recent training that we did on AI prompt engineering, one of the things that we mentioned was AI does not have the power to think on its own. If you push AI to think on its own, it will hallucinate. It will give you false information. How does AI get its information? AI gets its information from data elsewhere. It's just like Google. You understand? AI gets information from it has its own source of data, right? So AI will leverage on data to survive. So as long as AI is alive, as long as AI is alive, data professionals will still thrive. But what would be the issue? Uh, because we are now moving into an era where everything is automated by AI and all. If you don't have an AI skill, it will be very difficult for you to land a role, even in IT generally. Actually, I work. I mentioned I work as I'm a senior infrastructure engineer, or senior, I say senior cloud engineer, right? I develop applications. I build websites. When I started as a web developer, right, it would take me up to 3 months. I remember my first website, the first website I designed, it took me almost 7 months to design. Almost 7 months to design. But with the help of AI now, I can develop an application in 2 days. You understand? I can develop a website in I can develop a website in 20 minutes. I can develop a website and put it live to be accessible in 20 minutes. That's not exaggeration, because we did a training on how to use AI to develop websites really recently. So that is AI for you. But AI relies on data to make all those things happen. But if anyone is going to employ you as a data engineer or data analyst, usually it will be part of the requirement for to be employed as a sorry guys. Part of the requirement then was Excel, SQL. But now it has to be AI and cloud. Why? Because nobody wants to give you data and expect you to use your head to analyze data. No, we have tons of AI tools that you can use to analyze your data. And these AI tools that you use to analyze your data, they are all on the cloud, deployed to cloud, operated and managed on the cloud. And also, the result of your analysis will also be kept on the cloud. So no one would really employ you if you don't have cloud or AI experience, even as a data analyst. Sorry. So that's just to lay foundations to why we think having cloud experience. If you want to transition into IT, I mean, people I've had to speak to recently, if you have to transition into IT, uh, it has to be cloud. It has to be cloud or anything related to cloud, cloud or anything related to cloud. Because there's absolutely there's absolutely no IT skill now that you want or IT professional. There's no IT professional that you want to do that will require cloud. Now, I mean, in some countries where cloud computing is not yet a thing, might not be necessary. But in places where cloud computing is a big deal, you can't you can't get a job if you don't have the understanding of how cloud works. So I'm going to leave it at that and hand over to our guest, Olamide. Let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening. Over to you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back here today. And just like we did yesterday, we talked about a lot of things. And uh, I know it's not everybody that was here yesterday that might be here today, but for the sake of newbies that we have in here, so I'll just quickly do a brief summary and we go into today's chapter. So my name is Olamide Abolaji and I'm an authorized AWS instructor and have helped different organizations and institutions deploy cloud solutions, and I've also trained over 2,000 students across board, and I have a lot of engagement with AWS communities. And the goal as an instructor is to help at least a lot of people transition into the cloud computing, and not just transition, like find it easy to transition into cloud computing. Because um, one of the issues I know students have most times is when they come into cloud, because cloud is a big space where we have different specialties, different roles, and people just get confused of how to navigate the whole path. So somebody will just come to class and say, I want to learn cloud computing. So what pathways do you want to take in cloud computing? Just like when you go to university, we have different courses. Like we have the medicine, engineering. Even when you get to engineering itself, there are different kind of engineering. There's the civil engineering, computer engineering. Now I read computer engineering. Even still in that same computer engineering, there are different parts. If you want to be on the software aspect of it, or you want to be on the hardware part. So this also applies to cloud engineering, right? What are the parts you're going to be looking at? So we talked about it yesterday, but I'll quickly give you a brief summary of what we did. So just to be clear, right? We did this yesterday. So I want us to know, everybody on the chat or currently on the call, I want to understand where we currently are in cloud computing. So if you are just understanding what cloud really means, you could just drop in the chat, right? Are you just understanding what cloud computing is? Like this is the first time you are hearing cloud computing and you've heard it before, you're trying to understand what it is, or you know exactly where you stand, right, in cloud, and you know where you want to go to in your cloud journey, or are you currently discovering a specific role that matches your own interests? And at the end of this session as well, we're going to teach you a clear 90-day action plan. I mentioned this yesterday for people who came in, right? They said they wanted to learn cloud computing. I said, yes, I was going to share you a 90-day action plan. This is 90-day action plan. It has actually worked for a lot of my students, and everywhere I go to, I make sure that I give this blueprint to everybody. 90 days is enough to change the trajectory of your career in cloud computing, right? So feel confident that you can build a career in cloud, and trust me, at the end of the day, you are going to know more about this. So back to our poll, right? Are you completely a beginner? So let me see it in the chat box. Are you a beginner? Have you heard about cloud and you've never used AWS before? Or you've had an AWS account, right? And you've explored some leafy things about cloud computing? or you have some AWS training and certifications that you've actually like put in place and you've not probably get hands-on skill on it, or you're currently working with different cloud technologies. So I'd like to know where we currently stand. So let's get to know each other. Are you a beginner? Have you heard about AWS before and you've not used it? Or you have an AWS account and you've done some little practicals on it? Or you've actually completed an AWS training before now and you're looking at going into the next education part? And if you have worked with any cloud technology aside AWS, maybe Azure or GCP. So I like to get to know us on the call. So let's go. Are you a beginner? Have you used AWS before, or you're currently working with the cloud? Okay. All right. So I'm moving on to today's slide, right? Just like continuing for what we did yesterday. And yesterday, what we did was talk about cloud computing, right? We explained how cloud works, right? Cloud computing is just, oh, I really say is a complete beginner. That's fine. Don't worry. We're trying to talk about so many things about cloud today, and trust me, you will definitely want to jump on this. So yesterday we discussed about cloud computing. What is cloud? How can you relate it to your day-to-day activities? And the major reason why people have issues is cloud computing is all about virtualization. So you get virtualization means that everything you are doing, you're not seeing them. You're just clicking buttons and you're getting response. Do you understand? It's just like you have a laptop sitting somewhere as far as, let's say, in the Asian region, and you are controlling that laptop from a different country. So I'm currently in Nigeria, and imagine me controlling a laptop that is currently in Asia. That is how cloud engineering, and that's how interesting it is. So because now you are doing something that involves virtualization, right? A lot of people get to find issues of relating to what you are doing over there, right? So, but we are going to break everything down to you so you understand how this works. Okay, Laikas is also a complete beginner. That's fine. So that is why we are all here. We are here to like help you guys transition into this and understand what cloud is perfectly. And I'm very sure at the end of this section, you'll find it interesting to start your cloud journey. So I'm going to be using the farmland, right? I use this farmland to explain to people how cloud engineering works. And I've actually worked on some projects in the agri firm, and trust me, AWS works for everybody. Any sector, you're in the banking sector, you're in the health sector, you are in any industry. AWS can actually give you any solution you want. So now let's see how cloud works, right? Because people used to understand, okay, how does cloud work? Is it just the way the Google Drive or the Microsoft Azure works? So this is how cloud works. Imagine you started a farm business, right? You want to go into agri, and very soon, we're going into the rainy season here in Nigeria, and you thought of starting a farm business. Now, the things that will first come to your head is you need to get a land because that's where you need to plant. So if you don't have a land, there's no how you can even like start it. You need the first thing you need to do is own a land first. Now, when you buy a land here in Nigeria, at least there are some certain areas that the minimum amount you can get to buy a land, let's even say, let's just go back and forth. Let's say like 5 million naira or 6 million naira, and that's not small money. Now, after you've paid 6 million naira, you need to buy your tools because getting the land is just like, okay, I've gotten where to start my business. You've gotten the infrastructure. So, what are the tools you'll be needing in that farmland? You're going to be needing your tractors, you'll be needing some of your irrigation system, all those cutlass, all the rest of them. Now, you also need to buy seed. Those are the things you need to use. Then you can't do this alone because farm business is a very it's very big. It's not something that you one man, except it's very small scale farm that you want to do. So you'll be needing staff from that farmland, people that will be weeding for you, planting, irrigating, doing some administration tasks, and yeah, and they even laborers. You'll be need them. So you need to pay those guys as well, right? Then you need to also maintain everything by yourself because nobody is going to come and maintain your business for you. You need to take charge of your business. So at the end of the day, right, if your crop fail, you are going to bear the cost. Also, if your crops yield as well, It's also going to turn up for you. So everything is fully managed by you. Now imagine you using the cloud environment. Now I'm going to be relating the farm to the cloud. So let's say the cloud now give you a solution, and I come to you that you want to start the farm business. Why why go and spend about 6 million naira? Because you are not going to be planting for the next 365 days. There will be some season where you need to plant those things. So if it's corn, corn has its own season. If it's a mango, if it's cherry, anything, they have their seasons. So those seasons where you need to plant those things, I can give out my land to you, and you use that land for that period of time you want to like do your farming period. Once the season is over, you go and sell your goods and you're off the farmland, right? Now those tractors you want to buy, because tractors are heavy machine and they are not small money. You'll be spending like 30 million naira, 40 million or 50 million naira to buy a tractor. That is a lot of money. Now you also need to pay staffs to maintain that tractor, drive it, do your irrigation system and all of that. So you could see that there's a lot of things. But now, instead of you now doing all of those things, I can borrow you my land. I can also rent out my tractor to you. Don't go and buy a tractor. Don't spend 50 million naira to buy a tractor. Let me give you my tractor. Use it for that period of time. When you are done, you bring it back. So the only thing you are doing is that you're only paying me for the period of time you are using that tractor. That is how the cloud also works. So we're trying to say that instead of you to set up your own IT infrastructure in your organization, because for you to set up a server room is a lot of money, right? And I I gave an analogy yesterday, right? To set up like a physical server, just one rack minimum. The last project we did was between 6.5 to 7 million naira. And that rack was just even for a test. It was not for a workload actually. Now, for you to set up a full server, you'll be spending close to like 30 to 50 million naira. And what it takes you to get is that before you even set it up at all, you need to talk to the organization that will come and put it in your office. So they need to do a consultation. They will ask you, what do you guys do? What is your current workload? What are you looking at in the next 2 to 3 years? Now, after those consultation, and mind you, consultation is not free. So you are started spending money before your business even come to life. So first, you pay for consultation. After paying for consultation, you also pay for those hardware they are bringing, because all of those servers, they are physical hardware, so they need to ship them down to your organization. So after paying for consultation fee, you're going to pay for shipping fee, you're going to pay for installation, right? So installation covers your configuration and troubleshooting. Now, by the time they are done, you now need to also pay for maintenance. So it depends on your agreement. If your maintenance is going to be monthly or it's going to be quarterly or annually. Now you can see that there's a lot of money to invest in setting up this kind of infrastructure. Now, if you are in place like Nigeria, where we don't have 24 hours power supply, now even Bande is not even 24 hours. To an extent, they'll give maybe 22 hours maximum that I've ever experienced is 23 hours, right? But there are days where we still have 24 hours. Not that we don't have 24 hours, but it's not every day. Do you understand? So now you have a lot of things to put in place. Aside relying on NEPA, because NEPA cannot like that's even the least thing you can do. Maybe IKEDC or BDC, anyone that is providing your electricity to you. You need to put in place solar system, and solar system is not cheap. The solar system that will power a server room has to be a very big one. Also, you need to also get maybe inverter. So you have multiple power source to put that in up. Now you have spent millions of naira and your business is not yet up on the internet. Do you get? So AWS is now saying, don't spend so much money to go and buy server of 50 million naira and all of that. Just come to us, right? And just get those servers you want to buy. Now you don't need to buy, just borrow it for the period of time you want to use. So if you want to use that server for the next 5 years, of course you're allowed to use it. The only thing you just do is you just pay for the time you are using that server, right? And days that you're not going to be, probably you don't need to even use that particular server, you can shut it down. And when you shut it down, you're not paying it. But when you buy those physical server in your office, you are paying for everything. So you could see why AWS is not giving us a solution that instead of you buying physical infrastructures within your organization, why not just come to us that we are currently a cloud provider? We can give you all of these resources that you need at a cheaper price. Now, AWS is charging as low as 0.01 cents per hour for people that I explained how the free tier works. Do you understand? So all of these IT infrastructures, your database, your operating system, and even for database, for the physical infrastructure, after you buy the hardware, The operating system that will be installed inside that hardware, maybe it's Linux, maybe it's Windows, Ubuntu, you will also still pay for operating system. So that is a lot of money. So why spend so much when cloud is giving you a solution that you don't need to purchase all of these things? We can give you and use that particular resources at like a duration of time. You know the amazing part is days where you don't need that thing to be up, you can turn it off. But if it's that you've bought those physical infrastructures, days where you don't need it, it is still up and running, right? So you are currently spending a lot to set up your business. So what do you now do? You go to the cloud environment to get those physical infrastructures and use just like the way you want to probably do a wedding and you need a chair, you need chairs to like get your audiences. You don't need to go and buy chairs because you want people to come and attend your wedding or any party you want to do. All you need to do is reach out to a rental company. You rent the chairs. If it's 50, if it's 100, if it's 500, if it's 1,000, depending on the audience. Once you are done with your party, the rental organization come, they pack their chairs and they go. So you've paid for the duration, you use those chairs. But those period of time that you need that chair belongs to you and your guests. Nobody will drag that chair with you. So immediately you are done, you go. So imagine you now buying those chairs. When you're done with your party and you don't have party for the next 6 months or 1 year, what will happen to the money you wasted on the chairs you bought? So can you see clearly now how the cloud is actually giving a lot of businesses privileges to own IT resources without breaking their banks? Now, I'm very sure with this free explanation, now we understand how the cloud environment works. So under AWS, right, cloud is actually defined as the on-demand delivery of IT resources and application through the internet. Now, look at those keywords they said there: on-demand delivery of IT resources and applications through the internet. Now, on-demand means that at that point in time. Now, let's go back to the example I gave to you. You have a party tomorrow, right? It is tomorrow, very urgent. This is about 5:43 here, and your party is going to be already, let's say, 7 a.m. in the morning next day. If you need those chairs, all you need to do is call the rental people and say, "Oh, I need about 500 chairs tomorrow," and they will tell you, "We will deliver it to you immediately, even before 7 a.m. If you want it this night by 8 p.m., we'll deliver it to your premise, and you get to use what you want to do." This is how AWS 2 works. So because they've told you that that thing is on demand means that that particular resource you need, it is readily available. So at the point where you need a server, if you need a server to come up now in the next 5 minutes, all you need to do is go to the cloud environment, get that particular size of server you need, and provision it. Do you understand? That is where on demand it means it's readily available. Now remember I said on demand delivery of IT resources. Where do you know what IT resources is? Those servers, those database, networking system. Now, some of us are also enjoying cloud, but we don't know. Most of the applications we use today, like your Airbnb, your Netflix, those applications have been deployed on AWS by cloud engineers. Now, anytime you want to watch Netflix today, now it's just for you to turn on your smart TV or probably log into your phone and you have access to those videos. But imagine if AWS goes down today, that Netflix app you're using will not work. So now, because they want their customers to have access anytime, that's why they said on demand. So at the point of you getting access to any of those applications that be deployed on AWS, you have to access it because it is readily available for you to use. So and AWS has promised us, they did not say 100%. They said 99.99. Now, because they said 99.99, a lot of people used to relax because, oh, 99.99, that's a very big mark actually. So I remember when AWS had their outage, I think around last year, October or November. Now, during those period they had those outage, a lot of organizations that don't have backup or recovery in another region, all their applications and websites went down. Now I know Canva had issues, Snapchat had issues, a lot of applications had issues that day. And for like almost 24 hours, nobody could not do anything on those applications. So that's why they said that 1%, please put it in mind. Ensure that when you get into advanced class, they will teach you disaster recovery, they will teach you backup. So it's also very interesting to know all of those things. Now, we already know that cloud computing is now the on-demand delivery of IT resources and applications through the internet. So yesterday, I was telling people that attended that AWS can be very, very overwhelming for beginners. But trust me, you can get it right if you go through the right channel. Now, AWS said they have over 200 plus. I think now say we have over 250 plus after AWS events last year. AWS has released a lot of services now. So we have over 250 plus services in that particular platform. But the question you'll be asking is, do I really need to learn the all 250 plus services? The answer is no. You don't need to understand the whole training. In fact, sometimes for your day-to-day activities, some services you might need for all your projects might not be more than 10 to 12. So, but you need to focus on the core services. Now, I mentioned the core services yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it. So, the first one on my slide here is compute. Now, you really need to know about compute. Compute is like one of the major service you'll be needing. Now, when you talk about compute, what is compute? Compute Compute is the one powering those websites and applications you are currently using today. Now, Compute is that server. Now, this is why it's called the virtual server. It's because the server is no longer in your office, right? AWS has their own data farm. That we're going to talk about regions, we're going to talk about availability zones, we're going to talk about edge locations. We're going to talk about that later. But just understand that the reason why it is called virtual server is because the server you are using is no longer sitting in your server room in your office anymore. Because remember, we said we don't want to purchase hardware. So we want to use the hardware that AWS has. So how do you now access that hardware? It is through the internet. So we have a virtual server which can always like turn up anytime. So these servers are responsible for powering your website and your applications. Now you also have the storage aspect of the cloud where you store your informations. You also have your database. Now for every application or website you use, most of them have a database because that's where they store all your information, right? If you want to log into Netflix today, you have to use your Netflix login. Your Netflix login has been stored on the Netflix database, right? So you need all of these things to keep most of your technical applications up. So you need compute, you need to learn storage, you need to learn networking and security. Like every time I come to class, the first thing I teach my students is security first. You have to be security conscious before you perform any activities in the cloud environment. So that you don't get spoofed because you are doing everything through the internet. Don't forget I said virtualization. Your compute, your servers, your storage devices, your database, they are not in your office. They are in another location. That is AWS data farm. So you don't forget that you're accessing those hardware through the internet, and be conscious that there are bad guys working on that space you are seeing. They are trying to look for loopholes, vulnerabilities. So once there's any loopholes in your cloud system, they can easily attack it and steal sensitive information from that particular place. So I used to tell them that before you do anything, ensure that you learn the security base of AWS so you don't get into trouble in the internet, right? Then these are just the major ones: compute, storage, networking, security. Now every other ones like analytics, machine learning, blockchain, you can learn all of this later in the advanced classes. But for a beginner stage, you need to focus on compute, storage, networking, and security. Now, why I tell students to focus more on this is that majority of all your projects or your real world, like your real life projects you'll be working on, they all rely on these things I've mentioned. Networking. You really cannot do anything on AWS without networking because don't forget, you are doing virtualization. So for you to virtualize, you need a network. So you need to understand networking perfectly. You also need to understand compute, storage, and be security conscious when you are doing all of this. And so the question will now be, why are we not introducing AWS to you if you want to learn cloud computing? Because there are other cloud providers. Why AWS? Why are you giving us AWS? Now, AWS is the largest cloud provider, meaning that we have a lot of services to power your ideas. So as you are launching those ideas in your head, there's a service available for you to transition that idea into reality, right? So AWS, even the global market, right? They had the largest share in the global market, and they are number one. They are like leading in that global market. They are also the most matured ecosystem. Now, when it comes to AWS, aside the technology, AWS will also have they have a very strong community, right? That can help you to grow. You can be an AWS community builder. You can also be an AWS hero. You can be an ambassador. So there's a lot of things available for everybody to like get into the space. You just need to like get closer to the opportunities on AWS and learn as much as possible. So if you're an AWS community builder, all you will do is that you'll be sharing more information about AWS to your audiences, like talk more about AWS, go to events, set up webinars, teach people about AWS, just like what we're currently doing here in the community. Now you can see that we're currently doing this in the community, and a lot of people are coming here to come and learn. So this is what you will easily find around the AWS ecosystem. So that's why we tell people if you're going to cloud computing, go into AWS because there's a lot to learn from people. Do you get? So now let's look at the other slide we looked at yesterday because we need to move fast so that we can do what we need to do today. Now, I was talking about the AWS global infrastructures and reliability. Now, I have a student that asked me a question one time. He said, okay, if those servers are not in our office here, so where are those servers sitting? Now, those servers are sitting in a data farm that AWS has built. Now, for it to make it easier for everybody, because cloud computing is a global skill, I tell my students, see, when you're coming into the class, know that you're coming to learn something that is global, meaning that even if you are inside one hole in a desert, you can still be making your money and be giving out values because it's a global skill and you can work from anywhere. So AWS has set up different data farms in different countries. So I can be here in Nigeria, and as I work with other companies in the UK and Canada, all their resources, all I just need to do is when I log into my AWS console, I go to my region and I change my region to where I want to deploy my resources because you have to actually be in that region. For example, if you're in Nigeria and you want to create a solution for people in Nigeria, you must ensure that you deploy that application on a website closer to your customers. Because imagine me deploying a website in Russia, as far as the like Russia, and the users that want to use that application is in Nigeria, there will be a lot of latency. So that means that the server that I'm currently using, that server is sitting in Russia and the users are in Nigeria. You can see how far it is. So that is why AWS has not done it that okay, for every regions, like most of countries, we should have a data farm that can serve everybody. But now the amazing part is in Nigeria, we don't have a data farm. The little we have is local zone. I can understand why to an extent why we don't have a data farm. I think we don't need to talk about it, but you and I know why AWS might not really have a data farm yet. Though in later, like in future, they might still come around and get data farm here in Nigeria, but they don't have a data farm in Nigeria. So the question is, people here in Nigeria, and how do they now get access to their resources if their application is deployed in AWS? We use UK because UK is actually closer to Nigeria. So we deploy most of our applications in the UK. So AWS has created the global infrastructure system whereby they have data farms around their users. So the question will now be, what if I got an AWS job in Canada and I'm to deploy a particular application for people in Canada? How do I do it? It's not so difficult. You are doing virtualization. So when you go into the AWS console, you select the region where you want to deploy your resources and you deploy it closer to your customers. So that's why it's called a region. Right? A region is a physical location where you can find AWS data center. Right. So those data center, that is where all your servers, your networking, and your database system are currently sitting. Do you understand? Now, when you're not selecting a region, aside proximity to your customers, there are some other things you need to consider when checking for a region. Now, another one here is compliance with data governance and legal requirements. Now, I'm going to explain this with practical examples. Now, some of what these compliance rules are like, I used to use banks as example because this is what people can easily relate with. Now, for banks, banks are restricted what we call GDPR. GDPR means that all their financial records, all those data sets cannot leave the country. And because AWS do not have a data farm here in Nigeria now, there are some informations about the bank that we cannot deploy on AWS. It has to stay on their premise. In fact, some are so restricted that it can't leave the organization. Some it can't leave the country. So what do we now do? We used to do something we call hybrid deployment. The ones that cannot leave the country, we put them on their data center right there in the office. Now the ones that has the liability to leave the country and are not restricted with that GDPR rule, we take them into the cloud environment. Do you understand now? So you need to like consider all of these things before you deploy any solution in any region. Now, another thing we talk about is that people can easily relate is in Nigeria, we know that our government does not promote anything gay or lesbianism. So if you have any content that have this kind of gay content or lesbianism content and we deploy it in a region like this, they will cancel it out, they'll flag it out. And I remember there was a movie about all of this content on Netflix about 2 years ago. Less than 2 hours, that movie disappeared on Netflix because they had to remove it. It's not part of our data governance rule. Do you get? So these are things you need to consider. Then the price in a region cannot be the same price with another region. Taxes in UK is not the same as tax in US or in Canada or in Nigeria. Do you understand? So that is why the price of an EC2 instance, which is your physical server, will be different from the Asian region to the Europe region. Do you get? And also, not all the 250 plus services that is available in all the regions. No, there are some regions that have all the 250 plus, and there are some regions that don't have up to that because of some rules like that. There are some regions that you cannot use some AI tools like your Amazon Lex, all those chatbots. There are some regions where you cannot set up those kind of solutions. So there's actually a lot to put in place when selecting a region. But what you need to understand as a beginner first is that before you select a region, check who are the people who are going to be using the solution. Where is their region? Let me deploy closer to their region first. Now, when you see that this particular region suits them, check the governance rule immediately, check the compliance rule. If everything is in line with what you want to do, that's another perfect thing again. Then now check the price. If the price is actually cool for you to use, because you can actually use another region that's closer to it. If the price of that other region is even cheaper than the one you intend to use before. So that's why you need to like take all of these things one after the other in consideration. Don't just look at because this is guy is closer to your customers. You just go for proximity alone. Why not check for price, check for compliance rule, then check if those services are available in that region. So I think this is actually like this is actually understandable. But when you get into the class, we'll talk more about all of this. When you get into any of the rest, they will teach you more about all of this things. So now what are the core services? From what I said earlier, right? You need to learn compute, networking, storage, database, security, management, and governance rule. All of these things are what you need to understand as a beginner. Now you see this compute, there are different services there. We have the EC2, right? We have the EKS, we have our Lambda, which is serverless, right? But all of these things, you don't need to learn everything at once. Now, as a beginner, let me tell you one service you need to pick from here. You need to master your EC2 under compute. Like majority EC2. Now, I won't say Lambda now because for a beginner, I'm not expecting a beginner to start learning Lambda. At least you start learning Lambda when you get to the intermediate or the professional level. So for a beginner, ensure that you master your EC2 very well. You see, their EC2 is a very popular service in AWS. Most of the project people do today, they rely on EC2 and also on Lambda. But start with the first one, which is EC2. Under your networking, master your VPC. It is very, very important. VPC is known as virtual private cloud. That is the networking service under AWS. EC2 is elastic compute cloud. The CC, which is compute cloud, is what they call C2. So E, which is elastic, then C, compute cloud. So that's why it's called EC2. That's the acronym. Then under here, which is networking, we have VPC. Then S3 buckets. We have our S3 bucket under storage. S3, which is simple scalable storage. Then your database. Under your database, we have the RDS, we have the DynamoDB, we have the Aurora. Now, for a beginner, stay with the Aurora and DynamoDB. Those two services, see, that's one of the most popular database that we use because we have the RDS and that's the SQL and no SQL database. So for your SQL, you go for Aurora. Then the other one, which is no SQL, you go for DynamoDB. For security, stay with IAM first as a beginner. Now, in advanced stages, they will teach you more security rules like your WAF, your shield. But for a beginner, I would say you should learn about IAM, security group, and network access control, which is your NACL. So let me go over it again. So when you start learning, these are things you need to like stick with. For compute, EC2. For your networking, VPC. Your storage, S3 buckets. Now, under storage, don't remember that, don't forget that I said all these categories, there are a lot of services inside them. But I'm just giving you the first ones you need to learn at first before you now start learning ahead. Do you get? So EC2, VPC, S3, Aurora, which is RDS, DynamoDB, your security, IAM, that's identity access management. That's why it's called IAM. Then under your management and governance, there are other services there. So I'll stop here as a recap. Then we go into um, the business for today.
All right. Uh,
You wanted to say something, Mr. Lamide?
yeah, yeah. So thank you. Let's
Okay.
go into the business. Wait.
All right. Okay. So now, we talked about cloud carrier landscape yesterday, and you see a lot of people actually have this is I need to actually talk about this before I go into the 90 days plan, because one of the questions people used to ask me is, I want to do AWS and I didn't know where to start. Somebody say, oh, I'm actually a data analyst, I'm a cybersecurity expert, um, different roles. Like they just tell you, I'm a full stack developer, I'm a database administrator. Now, one thing I tell people is that AWS is so big that there's a space for everybody. I remember there was a boot camp I did last year, no, last 2 years, 2024, and we won the best project in that boot camp. And the reason why we won that project was because we addressed every other tech stacks that were there. Because in that boot camp, we have different courses. We have full stack development, we have content creation, UI UX, web development, mobile app development. So what we did as AWS, because AWS is vast, so we splitted the students. You do a project that address cybersecurity people, do a project that address data analysis, do a project that address content creation, do a project that address full stack development, and that was how we divided the whole class. They were over 100 that day, so it was easier for us to like address every other person. Now, in this technical, I'm going to explain so that by the time you are going to learn AWS, you know where to start from, and you don't get stuck during the journey, because when you know the role or the niche you want to pick, it is easier for you to learn the services, and that is where that 200 plus services comes in. The 200 plus services is not for everybody. So you need to like master this the particular service that attached to your own role. Now let's start with the first part, which is the technical role. You see this technical role there. If you are somebody that writes programming language or you're interested in learning programming language, this role is for you. So what do you do in the technical aspect? You build solutions in the cloud environment, you configure, you manage cloud infrastructures, you write codes, you do automations, right? And also you build architects, cloud architects in the systems. So the kind of roles you can find under these technical roles are, if you want to be a cloud engineer, if you want to be a solutions architect, if you want to be a DevOps engineer. Now you see this role I've called because a lot of people, I've had a class before where the person wanted to do DevOps engineering, and we're about to start a class. I just say, okay, let me even ask this person, like, have you done anything about cloud? And this person has not even done the basis of cloud, and they want to do DevOps engineering. So it was like we have to start from the scratch again. So these DevOps, they are for technical guys that have technical knowledge about IT. So if you're an IT person that understand how programming works, you need to write codes and all of that, then yes, you can go into the technical part of AWS. So if you want to start building systems, right, just like if you want to build any house now, you need to get an architect that will give you the diagram of the house. This is where your kitchen will be, this is where your parlor will be. Then they now give that particular architectural diagram to a builder. So in the solution architect here, is this solution architect that will gather all the services. So after you explain to the person, oh, I want to build maybe an LMS platform and I want to leverage AWS for my IT infrastructure, you need to talk to the solution architect. The solution architect will now be the one to gather all the requirements that will make it successful to run on AWS. Now, after the solution architect has gathered everything and he has done the architecture diagram, that architecture diagram is just the same thing as that architect diagram they used to give to those builders that build houses. So they give that stuff to a cloud engineer. The cloud engineer will now build those things by writing codes and doing all of that. Then this DevOps guy, this person will now like give a way for continuous integration. So if there's a need for regular updating, like updating your system or upgrading your system or changing your operating system, now this DevOps engineer now comes in. So look at it very well. Solution architects will give us the architects, like the base of what we want to build. This person builds it, then this person is now in like it gives way for automation, it gives way for continuous integration. Do you understand now? So these are technical rules. Now I've not had this somebody before that came to my class and said, see, I cannot write programming language. Like that's the issue I have. Can I still stay with AWS? Trust me, you can stay with AWS. Like it's perfect for everybody. Now look at the second rule, which is the business and sales rule. Now for this person, you need to understand how AWS works, but you are not doing the dirty work. What I mean by dirty work is that you're not getting your hands dirty on those services. You're not the one building those services, you're not the one gathering resources together. So all you need to do is that you need to like sell cloud to people. Or sometimes when it comes to consultation, they need somebody that can actually talk to maybe the CTO or the CEO. Now, let me tell you why you guys are very, very important in this stage. You might be thinking that, oh, because I'm a DevOps engineer, I can talk to a CTO about their solution. If a DevOps engineer talk to you about the solution, he will be using technical terms to talk to you guys. We'll be talking about Jenkins. We'll be talking about Dockers. We'll be talking about YAML. Do you get? So these are things that is going to be putting in place. Sorry, please just give me a moment.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Must someone have a strong knowledge on programming before getting into technical role, or just the business? Okay, so you don't need to have a strong knowledge of programming. No, you just need to have the basics. The basics is enough for you, right? Now, the reason why I say the basics is that um there are currently AI tools that can help you today, right? So you just need the basics, and everything is automated today. Even as a DevOps engineer, self, there are so many things we do today that we don't write from scratch. Everybody vibe codes now. So because you have the basics of programming language, you can easily like debug. And sometimes because AI might actually go out of context if you're not careful with your prompts. So you can easily read through the code lines to see, oh, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. So the basics is enough for you, and trust me, you would actually do fine because you're not really doing so much. You're not a developer. Except you're a developer, you're going to be a developer, then yes, you must go from, you're not just going to be staying on. And because I said you can start with base doesn't mean you should now stay at the basic level. There's also a need for you to like keep improving yourself to get better. But a basic knowledge is a perfect entry for a technical role. So once you get into that role, ensure that you keep advancing yourself to get it. Do you understand? So yes, with someone that has like a basic knowledge, you can go into the technical role. So you get, but there are some set of people that they don't even want to know the basic knowledge. They are not interested in coding. Anything coding makes them dizzy. Do you get? So they are the one that has this second part, which is the business slash the sales role. Now I was trying to explain to last time that for a DevOps engineer to communicate with the CTO, this person will be communicating in technical terms. So we need somebody that understand how all of these things works and it can explain to us in a way that is not so technical, in a formal language that I can understand. So when you talk about Docker, what is Docker? Because I don't understand Docker. If you're talking to a CEO, maybe to Nenimelu or something, and you're telling them you want to use Docker, you want to use Jenkins, you want to use co-pipeline, you're just be looking at it that you are just speaking jargons because those are technical jargons. You don't understand what you're doing. But for a cloud solution consultant, you can explain better on how this can work. You can also be an account manager. Do you get? You work on Daniel. You can also be an account manager. An account manager, you can be a technical account manager with AWS. Now, let me tell you what an account manager does is that you work with a customer. So if you are currently working with AWS now, AWS has a lot of customers that have their businesses running on AWS. So you can be an account manager for Canva, you can be an account manager for Airbnb, Netflix, a lot of them like that. Even Jumia is currently running on AWS. So you'll be managing their accounts. What you need to do is you need to like monitor the systems, like raise up if there's any issues with their system. Once any of you're going to also be acting as a customer support system to them. So if they have any issues and they need to connect with the developer, you will first like have a conversation with them because you know how AWS works. You know almost all the core services that they are currently using. So if the service is not functioning well, you know what is going wrong. In terms of troubleshooting, you can also troubleshoot and you find the issues. Now, when it comes to fixing the issues, the technical guys will come and fix the issue. So you've done a little job for the technical guys because if there's an issue in the cloud, you as the consultant, you've gone through the architecture and can see that, oh, this is where the issue is. Now, after doing those troubleshooting, I can easily talk to the technical and say, oh, I found out that there was something that was broken in the system and this is what you need to fix. It is easier for a technical guy to just go directly to where it is and fix it and leave the system. So you can see that you actually don't need a programming language. All you just need to do is know how cloud works, know the services, and how you can build cloud systems. And you don't need to do any other thing. You can also be a business developer. Now, what do business developers do? They go to different organizations and check out their requirements. What do you do in your organizations? Now, look at what they can do to get into cloud environments. And as a business developer, you understand cloud economics, you understand pricing. So, for people that are spending millions of naira to set up IT resources, you can tell them with cloud computing, you can cut down a lot of costs as this and this, like develop the old business idea and give it to them. And this is how we actually migrate people into cloud computing. We don't just tell them about technical terms. No, we tell them the benefits, right? What they can enjoy into the cloud system. And this is what you do as a cloud consultant or as a business developer. Now, coming to the third part, which is the specialty role. And this is where like I get to like address technical guys already. Now, people who are a full stack developer, people who are database administrator, people who are security experts. Yes, there's a path for you in cloud computing because if you look at cybersecurity deals with their physical network infrastructure. Cloud security is part of cybersecurity. They are not even the same thing, they are just brothers and sisters. So sometimes, if you see a role that says you are looking for a cloud security expert, it is not the same thing as a cybersecurity analyst or a penetration tester. Now, cloud security means that you are coming to learn how to secure those solutions that was built into the cloud environment. Now, because you're a cybersecurity person, you understand how to protect physical system. All you need to do is come and learn how to protect that thing you are doing physically. You can come and learn how to also do it in the cloud environment. So if you're a cybersecurity person, yes, you can come into the cloud environment as a cloud security expert. If you're a data analyst, right, you can come into this space to see how you can leverage AWS service. And I give a lot of examples yesterday about the data analysts. People ask questions about how they can build some solutions, and it's just a space where everybody can come and do what they're doing because in the next 5 to 6 years, most organizations will currently be operating the AWS ecosystem. So if you're a data analyst and you don't understand how to use some services that can work on the cloud environment, you might be having issues getting some certain roles because as a data analyst on the cloud environment, minimum at least you must know how to use Neptune, Redshift, you must know how to use Amazon Glue, QuickSight, S3 bucket, database, because when you get all those data sets, you need to take it to the storage aspect first, then go to your quick site to visualize it. You connect your S3 bucket to your quick site. So you can see that you're actually doing the same job you are doing with traditional tools. Now you're not doing them on AWS. As a data scientist as well, you can come into the cloud space to come and do data engineering. Look at how data moves within AWS, how you can connect your on-prem with your cloud environment and move data from on-prem to the cloud environment, from cloud environment back to the on-prem. So you get, so there's a role for everybody on the cloud space. So this is everything we discussed yesterday, right? So we are going to be moving to today's business, which is common beginner mistakes. Like this is one of the mistakes that people do when they are coming to the cloud space. Like ensure that you really do not go through all of these challenges. Now, the first one here is tutorial. I have somebody that told me that all through last year for the 6 months he was just watching tutorials back to back, back to back, back to back. And I tried to engage him. I'm like, okay, what are the things you've learned? I know you talked about so many things. You have watched this, you can do this, but tutorials can restrict you that you are learning, but you are not applying. So I don't want us to also make the mistake of watching so much tutorial videos and not applying the knowledge you've gotten from those tutorials. So that's why I gave this rule that you have to use the 80 and 20 rule. Like, see, fix it and it's going to work for you. As you are learning, ensure that you are working immediately with that knowledge. For example, you watch a video of how to build an EC2 instance. You already learn how to set up an EC2 instance. You already understand the kind of EC2 instance you have. Now, immediately you are done with that particular tutorial like this, the next thing you should do, that 80%, is how you can build different projects using EC2 instance. Go deeper by trying to like break things, because that's even where you learn. Like what I do for my students is, after I build an architecture, I will break it. I will like have to remove some things that will make sure that they have issues. They will not start troubleshooting. And I've been in a class before whereby I sat down and it's just typo error that I made, and they were there for like 1 hour. Do you understand? Now this is where, because these are things you meet in your day-to-day activity, whereby you also make such mistake, and just because you are doing more than you are learning, you actually like grow better. So instead of you watching in a day, you watch EC2 video, you watch S3, you watch Lambda, you watch containers just in a day. And after watching everything that day, the next day, you do not try to like apply all those things you've learned. You actually just be gathering knowledge, but you don't have the practical hands-on knowledge. So please do more of learning a little, then practice perfectly on those things before you move to the next stage. Another mistake people do is no documentation, right? When you are building projects, ensure that you document your journey, right? What are the challenges you faced? What is your project all about? You talk about it when it comes to documentation. And the places you can do your documentation, you can put it on LinkedIn, you can put it on your blog, people that use Medium, some people use Notion as well, right? And you can use GitHub and like LinkedIn and Medium. I think those are like one of the like biggest things that people use. It's common amongst people. They use LinkedIn, GitHub, and blog. So in your documentation, you talk about the name of your project, what you are building, why you are building it, what are the problems you are addressing. Now, when you were building this solution, what are the challenges you found out? Now, how did you fix them? And what is the end product? Do you understand? So you need to also document all those projects you are working while you are learning. Then please do not ignore fundamentals. I tell people a lot that you see strong cloud fundamentals can take you anywhere. Now, I remember there was a class I did as well. After breaking so much things, there was a particular guy that I didn't even use up to 5 minutes and he fixed everything. I said, this thing I fixed in 5 minutes. I have somebody that have like used almost 30 to 40 minutes. And why? Because he had to sit down with the basis. And you see what the basis will help you is that in terms of issues, when there is time to troubleshoot, because you understand the basis of how something to work, you can easily troubleshoot and find out where issue is. Do you get? So please do not ignore fundamentals. Ensure you learn the basic things about cloud computing, like Linux, networking, security, your core services. Please do not skip those services. And another mistake people do is that you don't network. Like you just learn in isolation. What I mean by learn in isolation is that when you go to LinkedIn today, right, and you start sharing content about AWS, you talk about AWS, what the LinkedIn algorithm will now do for you is that it will now bring people that are into that same ecosystem and now start bringing them to your feed. Then immediately you see those kind of people, you need to like start networking with them. When there's an event, you go for those events. Webinars like this, so you join webinars like this and make connections with different people. Now, these are ways where you get visibility. Because I tell people that you can be learning, you can be very good at the end of the day, and you're not visible. So you need visibility. Ensure you join communities like Tech Tribe, like other communities as well. You can join as many as possible. Join communities because you need to meet with a lot of people. You need to see like watch people's experiences, and not just because of experiences. People share updates like job opportunities. They share updates like where you can learn, get resources, meet people that can actually like they've tread a path where you want to go to before. So these are things that you need to like ensure that you don't make all of these mistakes. Don't learn in isolation. Don't watch too much of tutorials without applying them. Don't ignore cloud fundamentals, please, and ensure that you document your journey as well. Now, don't forget Bill. Yeah, I remember a student telling me that she exhausted her $200 in just a week. Why? Because she turned on a database, a very large database for that matter, for over a week, and that's how she burnt the 200. When you open your AWS account for the very first time to practice, you go with the AWS free tier. And when you open free tier, AWS will give you $200 because don't forget I said you're going to be paying for your running time. That's the time you use a particular service. So if they give you $200 and you exhaust that $200, you have to start paying from your pocket for every resources you use. But don't get scared. AWS used to give credit. So we're enjoying communities, you go for events, you apply for AWS Community Builder, they give you free credits for you to practice. So don't panic. You can always get this opportunity, right? So ensure that when you are turning on any resources while you are learning, immediately you are done, please shut it off. I tell my students before we finish, once we are done with our class like this, everybody should go through all the services we use today in all the regions and ensure that you shut them down immediately. The only reason why you should leave a particular service up and running is if you are currently using it. Once you are done using the service, please shut down all your architecture. So you get, and also set billing alerts. That's only the first thing we need to do. In my class, a minimum of $1. Except we're not doing like a large workload, right? Maybe in DevOps, we can say, okay, set at least a minimum of $5. Do you understand? So set billing alert. When you set billing alert, even if you mistakenly turn something on, immediately your bill gets to like $5. AWS is sending you a notification that guy, you already have $5. Oh, are you sure you are currently using it or you forgot something on? So immediately you see that kind of message, you go back and check your system if you forgot anything on. Do you get? Then another thing again is people have certification without skills. I've gotten people that come to class and say, "Oh, I really just want to I just want to pass the exam." And I've seen people that have the certificate, solution architects, not even just cloud practitioner, they have solution architects, professional level, and they really don't have hands-on experience. Like it's not really, it doesn't sit well, and it might get you through the interview stage. But when you get to the job itself, you might flop because you don't have hands-on. So I tell people, don't forget about certification for now. Know what you are doing for now first before you go and get the certification. Do you understand? So don't, because in the exam you can cram and go and pour it, and if it's about building project itself, getting your hands dirty will give you the right knowledge about AWS. Now, to the 90-day action plan I promised us yesterday. Now you're going to see how you can walk through your journey as a beginner from day one to day 90. Now, 90 days, which is just 3 months, is enough for you to like perfect everything you need to learn about cloud computing. Now, what I'm saying is that this thing has been tested and it has been trusted by a lot of my students across board. Like for everybody I've shared this plan with, they work with it. And I'm also going to share it with the community as well, so you can have it. Just ensure that you follow through this 90-day action plan and you don't skip it, right? Because what I tell people is that when you get into cloud, you will be you might be swayed off. You're just learning EC2. And immediately you open LinkedIn, somebody's talking about how he deployed a containerized application or how he used Docker. And because of that, you just skip from EC2, you go to Docker. You're not done with EC2 yet. So please do not be swayed off. Make sure you go accordingly with your fundamentals till you get to the intermediate level. So 90 days action. Now your week one. What you need to do between week one and week two when you're learning is that first get an AWS free tier account, because you need to do at the same time when you are learning. So you're not going to be making mistake of that tutorial error I talked about. So you'll be using the 80-20 rule. 20 is for learning, 80 is for doing. So what I mean by 20-80 is that in a day, if you are spending about 3 hours or 4 hours dedicating it to AWS, ensure that you use like maybe 1.5 hours to learn, and the remaining hours you use like practice on what you just learned now. Like practice it. They teach you how to use EC2, create EC2 instance under Ubuntu, create EC2 instance using the operating system of Linux, use Windows Server, install WordPress on it, like connect it to the database system, do different kind of things with that EC2 for that day before moving to another thing. So that's why it's called 80-20 rule. So you need a free tier account to do that. So day one, create your account and get familiarized with the environment. Day two, you need to now get that course, which is the AWS Cloud Practitioner Essential course. You see, this Cloud Practitioner Essential course is for beginners, right? So you will learn all the fundamentals about cloud computing. So within day 4 to day 7, explore the AWS console. AWS console is actually very, very interesting. And I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, why is my AWS console different?" The reason why my AWS console is different because I've learned to personalize my AWS console. My AWS console does not look like every other person's own. Like I try to like make sure it suits like my view. There's a way I just like how my console used to look like. So ensure that you explore your console, check how you can personalize it for your learning, and it makes it easier for you. Within the day 8 to 14, check out for AWS communities online, like this tech tribe. You can check out for the AWS security group in any of your region. AWS has different communities in different regions: UK, Canada, USA, Germany, India. Anywhere you are in the world, there's an AWS community for you. So just check them via LinkedIn, and there are also local groups where they have meetups. Some are quarterly, some are annually, and some are monthly. It depends on how they structure their environments. Now, after you've done all of this, reason why I say you should do all of this is you already have a community. So just in case in your learning journey you run into any issue, you can go back to the community and say, please help me. Oh, probably today I did some practicals and I could not find some things, or I was stuck in some places. You can talk to somebody in those communities. But if you are learning in isolation, remember I said one of the mistakes is learning in isolation. If you have any mistake or anything, you cannot talk to any other person except you probably not have somebody you can. And this is why you can have somebody that you can talk to, is because this person is the same system as you are learning, and that's part of networking. Do you get? So you need to join all these communities before you now start learning. Now, between week 3 to week 6, you now start learning your fundamentals. Make sure that you take a structured cloud traditional course minimum. Like I tell people, I know you can be very, very busy. Like I've asked students who are nursing mothers, right? They are nursing mothers. They will just say that I just dropped my baby now in the crutch and I'm back here to come and learn. And at least minimum of 1 hour should be dedicated to your cloud journey in a day, no matter how busy your schedule is. Out of that 24 hours, just remove 1 hour. Now, the reason I'm saying 1 hour doesn't mean that you cannot increase your own. Your own can be 4 hours, your own can be 6 hours, depending on your time. But this is minimum of 1 hour of daily study every day. Now, complete every hands-on project. Some of you might not have access to lab. Some of the course you purchase, if the course don't have access to lab, you can use your AWS free tier account to practice what you've learned. So ensure that you complete all your hands-on projects in everything you are learning. Then don't forget, as you are practicing, you are documenting your learning journey. Between week 7 to week 10, now for a beginner, these are one of the way you start your journey, right? You wrote a static website on STD, but I cannot forget the joy of one of my students. Immediately she launched our first website, and what we did was that we had to go and take our own website where she was hosting it before, and we brought it into the STD bucket and hosted it. And I could see the joy, like everything lit on her face, that I could deploy what I paid somebody thousands of naira. Like, why did I just do that? Do you get? But these are like basic projects you can work with. How to host a static website on S3 bucket, how you can launch your first EC2 instance, how you can create a simple Lambda function. And don't forget, share each project on GitHub and LinkedIn. Now, you see that LinkedIn? I remember a student talked to me about something. He said, I cannot be sharing creating my first EC2 instance on LinkedIn. I was like, really? Because, and I understand why, because when you go to LinkedIn, you see somebody that say, I just deployed a full fintech website yesterday, and you are just creating your first instance. Don't forget I said that your journey is different from every other person. And that's why this is called like your cloud journey. This is where you are starting from, right? This is your first institute, and because if anybody will reach out to you, sometimes, I'm going to share my authorization story to you guys, how I got authorized by AWS. And that was because I was building like physically. I was not in isolation. I was not hiding my journey, right? I was transparent enough, and as I got authorized. So don't, because you are at the stage of starting an EC2 instance and another person is like maybe deploying a 3-tier web application on AWS, and you are just starting and you are feeling inferior, right? Inferior complex applications, meaning the quality. So please do not get swayed off by the noise on LinkedIn. Your own journey should be dedicated to you. Today I built or an hosted a static website on S3 bucket. These are the challenges I faced. This is what I fixed, and this is the final result. People will actually comment. Nobody will bring it down that because somebody has built 4-stack website and you are just beginning to not. No, everybody will come and encourage you, because for you to have done that, like start with a basic project, it shows that you are actually like intentional about your journey. Oh, my pleasure. Yes, I had to make a reference to what we said yesterday. All right. So now within week 11 to week 12, yes, at this point now, you should have learned a lot. Like week 11 to week 12, that's almost like 2 months already. Now you need to schedule your AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. Now, what I tell people is that you don't finish a training course, or probably after you are done, you now abandon everything. You stop building projects, you stop reading, you stop. By the time you go and schedule your exam, you magically fail. And that's why sometimes when students like reach out to me and say, "Well, I've written Cloud Practitioner like 2 times," I'm like, "You wrote Cloud Practitioner 2 times. If there's any exam you should write in cloud, you should not be Cloud Practitioner, right?" And because there are strategies to this. I shared yesterday that when you come to class, like instructors will tell you that this is how to pass exam, this is how to learn hands-on skill. And the reason why is that there are some certain set of people that they want certification, they don't want to like learn the hands-on. I understand, because there are a lot of CTOs today that they want to have the knowledge. They are not the one doing the job. They have people under them, they have developers, they have builders already. So why should I be getting my hands dirty? I just need the knowledge and I need certification to actually like work with this guy, which is fine. So when you're coming to learn, there are strategies to learning and a strategy to also like getting your certification. So you get, so while you are also doing that, ensure that you read ahead for your exams, right? Start practicing for your exam. Take practice tests. There are practice tests on YouTube. There are practice tests on Udemy. There are, you can use ChatGPT, like basic AI tools. Just take ChatGPT, use your prompt very, very detailed. I'm writing my cloud practitioner exam in so days. I want to schedule a standard AWS exam. You have 65 questions in that exam, and you have about 90 minutes. Now, the good news, why I tell people this is that because we are authorized and we have experience about how AWS do their documentation. Out of that 65 questions, 15 questions have been marked for you already. So out of 65, AWS has given you 15 mark, right? And that's why I tell all my students that any exam you are taking, even if you don't know the answer, you are not sure, please do not leave it unmarked, because any unmarked question will be like marked as zero for AWS. Do you get? And maybe it's part of the 15 marks that AWS have given you before, and you don't check that answer, they'll mark it as zero. So you know the answer, you don't know the answer, ensure that you pick an answer that is related to what you can pick. Do you get? So you have 15, you are left to just 50 questions to battle to get 50 right questions. And the pass marks for cloud practitioner is 700 over 1000. That's like 70%. 65 questions, and out of that 65 questions, they'll be total to about 1000. So the minimum you should have is 700 over 1000. For other advanced courses like solution architects, all the associate level is about 720. So you get 720. Then I think for professional level is about 750, 770 ahead. Do you understand? So ensure that you schedule your exam, take and pass certification. One thing about people, I tell my students, and that is what gingers everybody. Once you pass your first certification like this, you want to do the next one. And the amazing part is, immediately you finish that first certification and you pass it, AWS will give you a 50% discount to write the next one. So for your next certification, you are not paying 100%, you're just paying 50%, because AWS will give you a 50% voucher immediately as you apply. So ensure you update your LinkedIn as you are doing this within week 11 to week 12. Now, so did we have any question? Because I said yesterday that today we are going to address all the questions that we have, right? If you have any questions about how to get into cloud, how to like get to your cloud journey, let's talk about it today. So um we can start reeling the questions in now. So Mr. Lamide, we
All
can
right.
get the questions
Uh,
coming in.
Everyone, send your questions in. Send your questions in. I have a few myself.
All right.
Now, uh, you said something relating to certifications and so on,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I want you to make an emphasis this, make a bit of clarification. I think certifications, the value we place on certifications, it's also
Yeah.
a function of environment. You understand?
Yeah.
Their environment. I work as a senior infrastructure engineer. Nobody
Yeah.
asked for my certification, right? Nobody asked for my certification. Uh, my interview was purely practical. They give you a real life scenario, ask you to design
Yeah.
something. build it, bring it, present it, and they will ask you a question based on what you've presented. Right. So
Yeah.
it's not theoretical. You have to know. You have to be
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
explain. You understand? No. And I've also been in a conversation with a recruiter in Nigeria where
Yeah.
all they want is certification, right? Because
Yeah.
they also think certification is good for their own profile as an organization too. You understand?
Yeah.
Can you imagine you have an engineer and you say, my engineer is 7 times AWS certified.
I know, right? I know how that sounds.
Yeah. So how do we create this balance? I'm saying this. I'm saying this in um, okay. Let me make the context clearer.
Okay.
All right. Uh, in Nigeria,
Yeah.
um, to pay for certification is is not a child's play. You understand? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So should I pursue the certification first or the answer, knowing fully well that my environment they really rely on certifications.
Yeah.
I don't know if you understand my question.
Yeah, I
So
get
how
that
do I feel
question.
about it?
Yeah, I get a question. So if you look at the 90 days action plan I actually did, I placed certifications at the last part. Right. Certification was at the last part. So the first thing you need to get first, either you're in an ecosystem that requires you to give certification or not, the first thing you need to get is your hands-on skill. Like you don't need to joke with that because that is what you're coming to do on the job. You're coming to come and use your hands-on skill to solve challenges, to give solutions, and thereabout. So you need those hands-on skill now. And just like you said, in Nigeria, yes, because it's not a child's play, at least to get cloud practitioner and the rest of them, they're about $100, right? Which is not a little money here in Nigeria. So one of the ways you can do is that first, remember I said you should join communities. Now, some of these communities also offer free vouchers, right? So if you have the hands-on skill, there's a difference between you writing certification first. And after you've written certification, there's nothing to prove for your certification, but you have hands-on skill already. Now, some organizations go ahead to pay for their certifications because I have seen students that came from, I don't mention the name of organization, just recruited them and they've been working for like almost a month. Then the organization paid for their training, they came for their training and they wrote their certification. So you necessarily do not need to get certification first. So it's either you're in an ecosystem where you need a certification or you don't need a certification. The first thing you need to do first is get your hands-on skill and be good at it. Now, when opportunity comes for you to write a certification, then you can go for it because it is easier for you to pass your exam if you have hands-on skill, and it'll be very difficult for you when you don't have hands-on skill. I want to go and write the exam. The reason you are going there now is because you are memorizing. And there's every tendency that when you memorize, you can forget. And there'll be some tricky questions that just because you don't have hands-on skill, you cannot answer some certain question. So memorization actually is not even is not enough to pass exam. But can you still pass exam if you memorize? Yes, you can still. So you're in an environment where you require certification or not, the first thing you need to get first is that hands-on skill. Master it. Then when an opportunity shows for you to write certification, then yes, you cannot go for your certification. And now here in Nigeria, so these are other ways you can get certifications for free if you don't have the money to pay for it immediately. Now the AWS community used to give out vouchers. Like for every event, there's always free vouchers for people that come around. So you can just probably answer questions, participate in the community, and you'll be given vouchers. I'm currently on the AWS security group for West Africa. And what they do every month is that they look at somebody that is very, very active on the WhatsApp
Active.
group and they just send you a message and they ask you which exam do you want to write and they give you the voucher code. Also, you can be an AWS community builder. Now, for 2026, the application has closed. It closed around January, right? So, because all of this things you are doing, you are building publicly, you are documenting all your information in AWS. One of the requirements to be an AWS community builder is you build publicly. So by the time you apply for that, it's going to open again next year around January again. So look out for the AWS community builder application, and I'll tell you the people you can follow on LinkedIn to get those information. Jason, like
the regional AWS community leader. So you can set him up on LinkedIn and turn on your notification. So the guy will tell you how to apply. And how do you apply? You just fill a form, then you give us links. You share links of all the things you built publicly on your GitHub and your Medium. Now, one mistake people now make is please do not use your social medias like your LinkedIn, your Instagram. AWS do not accept they don't accept social media links. So what you need to give to them is links to your Medium or GitHub. So all the things you saved and all your projects, put them there. So they want to see that you'll be talking about AWS. And once you become an AWS community builder, you get access to free credit. You get access to AWS community builder community where you have all developers and instructors. You can have one-on-one conversation with them for mentorship. You also have free virtual code for examination, like quarterly. So you get so these are one of the benefits you can get as an AWS contact. So these are ways you can get education for free. Do you get? So I think I've been able to answer your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. So
So I think I'm seeing
another
a
question from.
question.
Okay, okay, can go for that.
Okay, you've seen. Okay, I think so. I saw a question from. So he said, just as I access the, is it good to have our portfolio on AWS Qubida alongside GitHub? Yes, yes, you can do that. You can have it on Qubida, and you can also have it on your GitHub. It's perfect. It's okay. Do you get so? But
So
because majorly AWS, I mean GitHub is an open source, so you can use it too.
yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thank you. So, from one of the things you were saying was the importance of joining the community. Right
Yeah,
now, how do for someone who is just starting, like,
yeah.
yeah, how do they find the community? How do they join the community? Now, I'm not even talking about the AWS builder community.
Community.
Talking about
Yes.
a community, local community,
Local
right? And
communities. Yeah.
how do they navigate through finding a community and eventually joining?
Joining them. All right. So for the one in West Africa here, and it's also everywhere. So there's something they call the AWS Security Group West Africa. That's for West Africa. So you can check for your region, whatever region you are. You go to LinkedIn, just search out it. If I immediately search AWS community, you see all the AWS community you have. But just put the region you have. If you're in London, if you're in Canada, if I just put it there, any country you are, you will find all the communities there. So you join, you follow those Instagram page. Then when you enter, no, I said Instagram, LinkedIn page. When you get into that LinkedIn page, go to their bio. Most of them need to attach their WhatsApp group there. Now, for the AWS West Africa, we have over like 5 to 6 groups because they get feed up almost every day. Do you get? And there are people that are managing those WhatsApp group. So some of them they might tell you they use Telegram. Some of them might tell you they only share the information directly on LinkedIn. So immediately now, how you now get access to them directly one on one is that each community used to create an event. Either it's quarterly physical hosted event, and sometimes it can be virtual. Ensure you go for those events. Now, when you go for this event, now most of this event they share QR codes to more personalized platforms again, like WhatsApp. Because I
Awesome.
remember the last one we hosted around October, we had to create another platform again for everybody because the other ones we have is filled up. And we have people who are coming to us to say, oh, we're not in your community. So right there in that physical event, we set up the QR code and we didn't post it on LinkedIn. So you can say that this is the reason why you must also like attend physical events. So for all the communities you'll be joining, anytime they are hosting any physical event, please make sure you attend this physical event. That's when you can get one-on-one information. I've actually like met a lot of people that it was when I went for a speaking engagement. In fact, immediately they're answering questions in the audience. I know that I know this person. I remember because I went to Ilorin AWS Community Day around December, and there was a guy that actually we've been following each other on LinkedIn, and immediately answered the question like, "I know this was do you get so
Yeah.
like meeting like those communities on LinkedIn, majorly on LinkedIn, you always find them on LinkedIn. So this is how to go to LinkedIn, search out the AWS community, then put whatever region you are. You will see a list of pages you can follow. Then attend them. You can even send them a direct DM, as they'll respond to you.
Yeah. So, one another question I have: um, at what point,
Yeah,
as a beginner, someone
yeah.
is just starting out. At what point should I start applying for jobs, or how do I know that I'm ready to start applying for cloud roles?
Cloud roles, very fantastic questions. So you don't need to finish your course before you start applying. That's what I tell my students. Now, when you are learning, right, if you are staying the foundational level, there are some roles you can apply for. Now, you cannot be in the foundational level and you're already applying to an SRE role, or probably applying to be um, a DevOps engineer or a solution architect. Now, you can apply to roles like customer support, like cloud support, and they are all intern roles because you don't have so much experience to handle any infrastructures or any technical deployment. So while you are learning, right, about the bootcamp I told you about three of my students from that boot camp got internship with GD Tech. And as of today now, they are no longer interns. They are full stack developers leveraging AWS skills for them. So while you are learning as well, because now, don't forget I said build publicly. Now, while you are building publicly, right, all of those projects you're already adding to your GitHub, these are things that you can like apply to organizations. Sometimes I even tell my students that don't wait till you see an open roles. Go to any organization, search them online, and send the code mails. Tell them this is what you do, especially for companies that leverage AWS. Once they see your zeal and they see what you've done, they see that you've learned some things. So you don't need to be a professional before you now start applying. Most organizations now, what they do is that when you come in, they already have a senior cloud engineer that's working for about 15 years. Now, you can attest to it that most senior cloud engineers now don't do basic deployment anymore. All they do now is they monitor processes. And who do they need?
Right.
People like you and I,
Like you.
that I mean, people that are just coming into this space, they mentor you and guide you. So most of those senior cloud engineers that don't do like hands-on project anymore, what is that they get interns, train them to a professional level, and they handle the day-to-day activities of the organization. So you really do not need to finish your learning before you start applying to roles.
That's good. Now, from your experience, I'm just thinking, if a learner wants to build a project
Yeah,
that will encompass all the important tools or important services. Let me use that: compute,
yeah,
database, networking, security. So, what projects? I mean, for your experience, what projects
yeah.
did you do, or one of your projects that you've done while learning, that someone can uh, used to practice, and it will encompass all this, not just deploying an application on EC2 or just setting up
Yeah,
a security group, or you understand, just one project
yeah.
that will cut across all those important services.
Services. Yeah. So I remember there was a class like this that I had, and I had a man from Abuja. I don't mention the name of the organization. And I remember when I was like talking to everybody, I was asking, "What do you do?" And I saw that man. That man was just so quiet at the back, and I was like, "What's this man? Why is this so quiet?" And I like tried to engage him because I don't like my class. I don't like leaving anybody behind. I make sure that I engage everybody. And he had to tell me that I'm not going to lie, because when everybody was introducing themselves, this one said he's a developer, this one says he's digital analyst, this one says he's a customer support, this one says IT support. I'm a farmer, like I'm not a technology person. I was like, perfect. Like immediately, immediately said that I'm a farmer, everybody busted laugh because the way he said it was very, very funny. He was an Hausa man. I said, oh, that's amazing, because this is actually we want to like now you're coming to AWS, because why in fact why he said he came to them was he just heard about AWS and he said, okay, let's even see what they are doing there. Our project was not directed to his farmland. We left every other person like cybersecurity, data analyst, and all that. So we built a system involving IoT. We had to make sure that we have an automated irrigation system within his farmland. We showed him how you can build this kind of system. We had to build the architecture right there in the class. Like we had to get IoTs because there are other IoT services on AWS that cut across different platforms. So what we did was that we had to like send some of those sensors back to his farmland for somebody to help us put it on the ground there. So what that sensor will be giving us, that sensor used to give us data about the weather. So instead of you doing manual irrigation, because he said he had farm people that are working for him, right? And they are doing the manual irrigation system. The only limitation we had with that project was to get the final system, which is the helicopter that flies around to do the wetting and all of that. But we were able to like get a demo, which was a small one in the class. So what we did was that once we implemented those sensors at his farmland, right, we were able to gather data from the farmland. They were integrated with other platforms like Lambda, we use Cognito. Like we have to use all those so that we can connect to him. And you know the amazing part? We did not use laptop. We had to use SNS because most of these men, like all of these, they are small phones, right? So we had to look at that. You can even leverage AWS even if you're using this your small phone. The engineer will just have to like use SNS. He send messages to you SMS, and you get it today that tomorrow is going to be raining. I need to ensure that you don't need to like waste your time doing any irrigation system, right? So this like a practical that we did, and before everybody was looking at how we can do DevOps projects, how we can build pipelines, and I say no, let's address and let's see how this man that has come that is actually out of the world, how he can enjoy this class. And that was how we built a different solution in the cloud environment.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. My next question would be for someone who is thinking of specialization or specializing in something. I mean, one of the person who raised something yesterday that you were addressing was someone who said they have a finance background, accounting background, who
Yes.
might want to probably focus on FinOps, you understand, or something
Yeah.
like that, FinOps engineering. Now,
Yeah.
the question is, as someone who is just transitioning into cloud computing, is it advisable
Yeah.
for me to specialize very early or remain a generalist while starting out? So do I need to just focus on, okay, this is what I want to learn, I just follow this part, or should I just learn everything as someone who's just starting?
Okay. So as someone who just starting out, I will not say you should go as far as being a generalist, because if you're going to be a generalist, you can waste a lot of time. So, but first, you need to ground yourself with the basics, right? Attack the basics, strong like cloud fundamentals. You stay on it now because solution architect. If you know how that course is to an extent, as a solution architect, you are more like a generalist to an extent, especially when you move from the associate to the professional. Now, when you've done solution architect, the reason why you must have that general knowledge, but you are not to leverage or stay long on that general knowledge because you also have somewhere we are heading to, which is the FinOps, right? So you need to go through that solution architect, which will teach you like basically all the general knowledge. And when you are doing those general knowledge, you are not going deeper into everything. So if you are the DevOps aspect of it, it's just like a scratch or an intermediate level. We are going into the developer aspect of it, not the scratch, but when you're going into the cloud ops as well, too, you're getting just knowledge. Now, at the end of the day, you know where you're heading to, which is FinOps. So you are not to spend so much time at the general level. So the general level is just to give you an insight of what every other person do. So just in case
View
as a
of
FinOps person, yeah. So as a FinOps person, if you want to work with every other field or any other person, you know what is expected of them to do. So if there's any bottleneck or there's any leakage in any of this part, you can easily address it and tell you that, oh, you can do this and do that because you have the knowledge of what they do, but you're not deeper into what they do. Do you get? But into your own aspect of it as a FinOps person, they cannot go deeper into FinOps because they didn't go deeper into your own field. But they also have knowledge, a little knowledge of what you're also doing. You get that part now. So you're not to stay long on the general knowledge. No, just take the knowledge you need around it and add straight to your niche.
It's good. Now, my next question is, uh, the curiosity most people who are going into tech
Yeah.
at the moment is, will AI take my job? Understand?
Hmm.
And for persons who are in DevOps, I mean, I
Yeah.
was saying that not just developers, people, software developers now. I
Everybody.
mean, you can build the software without you can build the software without knowing how to code. You understand?
No, of
With AI,
course.
you just need to get the right tools. You understand? Now,
Yeah.
uh, DevOps is, for example, now DevOps is part of a cloud profession, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sooner or later, the use of AI would uh, make DevOps role less relevant. If I may say less relevant for people who are just starting. Now, people who are now senior DevOps now will be the one just managing pipelines, just forcing the use
Yeah.
of AI. Understand? So now,
Yeah.
what I'm looking at job security now in cloud now. So
Yeah.
no one should start a role now, and in 3 years time, AI has taken up the role. You understand? As a junior
Yeah.
now. So which cloud roles are least saturated, and do you think offer strong growth opportunities? Like, okay, in 3 years' time, if I choose this role, it will still be relevant. The truth is, even solution architecture,
Yeah.
architecting now, you don't you you don't really need you don't I mean AI is not taking over. We had an event last week where someone brought a platform designed by infracode base. You just need to
Yeah.
describe what you want,
Once. Yeah.
and AI will design the whole architecture for you
Yes.
with all the services. You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to employ 3, 4 solution architects again. You just need one
Architect.
person
Yeah.
who will
Exactly.
prompt who will prompt the AI. You understand? So that is evidence that in 5, 10 years from now, the role of
Of
a
course.
solution architecture will be relegated. So what is my job security as a cloud professional, right? What
Yeah.
role am I going to with the assurance that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it will still be
Yeah.
relevant?
Okay, amazing. This question is actually very, 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 very amazing. So, why I love this question a lot is even with the devil's aspect you talk about. Last year we event, right? They released, if not over 50. I want to go and check the actual number of DevOps agents, like AI agents that are ready to take. See, now for developers, we know that developers to an extent their AI coming after them already. For DevOps, so where they have DevOps AI agents so that can do all of these things. But I will say something. AI, as sad as it is, AI will replace some people, and
Mm,
AI will never replace some people. Now, in 2026, the set of people AI will replace are those people that don't know how to leverage AI tools. Now, the set of people that AI can never like replace are people that are currently leveraging on AI. So, regardless of any role you have currently, you're a solution architect, you're a developer, you're a DevOps engineer, if you don't know how to leverage AI tools, to make it practical, about 3 days ago, I still saw a role. They were looking for a developer. Guess who they were looking for? They didn't write it as a full stack developer. They wrote Cloudy, like advanced cloudy developer. I was like, what's the meaning of cloudy developer? Do you want to build cloudy model or anything again? I need to check. It's just vibe coding. You need somebody that has coding
mm,
experience but leverage cloudy. Now
with
you're a
AI.
full stack developer that don't know how to use all of these tools. Then how do you want to apply for the job? Because immediately you put your resume, ATS will just filter you out. You don't know how to use AI. AI has replaced that person. But there's somebody who already like leverage AI to already and understand how to use all of these things. Immediately you put his resume there, definitely you will get a job because you already have the knowledge. So I will conclude with saying that regardless of any role you have right now, solution architect, DevOps, developer, AI is coming for everybody. Now, just to make sure that you get the job, you need to understand how to use all of these tools. Now, if you don't know how to use all of these tools,
Yeah, I think network glitch. Olamide, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
still
So
here.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Why waiting for guest to join? Like, I think he has a network glitch. Remember,
Mhm.
if you heard what I was saying earlier, whatever you want to do as a professional, if you don't have AI skill, even if you are right, even if your job is administrative, right? If you don't have AI skill, you will lose your job. you, you
Yeah.
remember you remember years ago when they would say, you need to learn how to use computer, and some persons thought, do I need to learn how to
Yeah.
use computer?
Yes. Yes.
It got to a level where any job you want to apply to, they will ask you, you must have computer skills.
Computer
That is
skill.
how,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's where we are
yeah,
going to right now with AI.
that is where
You
we are
must
going
just
towards
have that
AI.
AI skill. Yes.
You must have AI. If you don't have AI skill, you would, irrespective of what you, if in
What you
fact, even
do.
if you're a medical
Yeah.
doctor, I mean, if you are in this part of the world now where uh what's it called, consultation is now automated, right? You now chat with AI agents for consultations. You understand? So you just speak to AI, this is my symptoms, and this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm feeling, and AI will not tell you, okay, this is your problem. Now, the people who developed that solution, they are doctors, right? So doctors need to know how to develop what's it called, medical AI solution. So if whatever you're doing at the moment, if you don't have AI skills, you are going to be really limited, because AI is going to be implemented in all things. So Olamide, we just talking about the necessity of AI skill while you were away. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah, I
back
can hear
now.
you now.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's back. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
my network threw me out the
you
other
can
time.
continue. Mm, yeah, I guess as much.
Yes, so that was what I was also trying to explain. That for everybody in the regards of your, I think God even went as far as talking about a medical doctor. Because I remember a project we worked on, we built an ML platform for a medical field where all you just need to do is most of all these X-rays you do, right? You don't need to manually now check it. You go to an hospital, they say, "Where is your scan?"
Mm,
So when we now take it up like this and start checking, no, there's a tool that replaces all of this is today now. So the person just gets
mm. Yeah. Again, I think. Oh, so that's so. So I mean, the summary of what we are saying for people who are listening is, while it is available, leverage on AI skills, learn AI skills. You understand? Learn AI engineering, prompt engineering, learn LLM, uh, whatever AI skill you can learn. Funny enough, these AI skills are not very technical. You understand? It's not as if, I mean, some of them require that you learn how to code, but a lot of them does not really require you learn how to code. I mean, dedicate time to build yourself if you don't want to be left behind. The way technology is moving these days is just at the speed of light. New inventions coming up every single day. New inventions every single day. So we're in the world of AI. I mean, now I was saying we started the event this to this episode. We're in the world of AI, cloud, and data. So whatever you want to learn, let it be within these three jurisdictions. We're just going to wait a few seconds and see if Olamide is going to join back. Uh, in learning the AI skill, I see a question. In learning the AI skill, are we to take certifications on AI or take courses, seeing that people can just prompt anything on ChatGPT? Now, one of the things we encourage, or what we encourage mostly, is not certification, right? Certification is not a proof of knowledge. Don't forget. It's not a proof. That's a wrong phrasing. Certification is not a proof of competency. You understand? Just like some of us who went to school, we passed our exams. You understand? But can't really practice. We can't really practice what we've learned, right? So certification is not a proof of competency. So whatever you are learning, like our guest Olamide said earlier, your priority should be hands-on experience. So if you're learning AI skill, and learn hands-on experience, of course, a prompt engineering, prompt is part of AI, but that's not really AI. You understand? Prompting, ChatGPT is just a tool. It's just an AI tool. It's not. That's not the really AI. You get. So you need to learn the AI itself, artificial intelligence itself, right? The LLM and the whole. So if you're interested in AI skills, uh, learn first. Find a path that you want to learn it first before you start thinking of certifications, right? So Olamide, thank you. Maybe the network over there
Yeah,
has been very challenging.
Like
So
it has just
I'm
been
just going to I'm just
dragging.
going to ask this last question before we call it a day, and hopefully,
Okay.
we'll set up another meeting for in the future. Now, and the question, this question I ask almost everyone:
Yeah.
uh,
All right.
does cloud
Yeah.
profession pays? Does it pay the bill?
Hmm. Of course, cloud is abused. If I look from, sometimes somebody ever asks this question, they go like, okay, let's be practical. Imagine you spend $100 to get like your certification. Not like the organization pay though. You got your certification, and some of you are like 4 times, 6 times. That's like I see solution like and foundation about $100. Others are about 150. Their professional is about $300. Now after purchasing those kinds of certifications, and you can't come and pay. So yes, cloud pay the bills honestly. Most of the roles I see almost every day they pay, but you just have to it's just everywhere. There's some people that you intentionally just want to like pay you lesser than expected. So ensure that you avoid those kind of roles. But though those roles are still for people, people still take it, and people will just take it to like get
Mm.
experience and find their exit plan as fast as possible, right? So a lot of people that, but yes, cloud pays the bill.
All right. We're going to call it an evening here. Thank you so much, Olamide Abolaji, for gracing
Yeah,
us
sure.
with your experience and expertise. We really appreciate it. You've been here and
My
devoting your
pleasure.
time to build a community. So thank you so much, Olamide, for joining us, and hopefully we would have another training or webinar in the nearest future. So thank you so much. We also have here Olamide Joseph, is the talent acquisition manager for Tech Tribe. He's also here with us. Olamide, thank you as well. Funny enough, the three people
We
Welcome.
have
on
we have
speaker
three
today,
Olamides
we
on
are
this call.
we have so I had to change my
It's
name to Tech
amazing that
Tribe
we have three Olamides on the call this evening.
Uh-uh.
so
Are you
that people
serious?
don't think it's a mistake. So we are all Olamides. Olamides. So thank you so much, Olamide, and
Well,
hope
thank you
to
so
see you.
much, Mr.
Everyone
Olamide. We
who
really appreciate your time. Thank you and God
my
bless you.
pleasure.
thank you. Yeah,
Amen.
for everyone who's part of the event. Thank you so much for joining. We have a mentorship program starting at the end of this month for people who are transitioning into IT and cloud computing, to be specific, right? And one of the things we plan to do with this is to build the next generation of cloud professionals. One of the things we'll be doing, having one-on-one sessions with you, helping you with roadmap, as Olamide has shown us, helping you with roadmap to learning, and also having one-on-one with you, catching up with you on what you've learned, and helping you until you are able to land your first job. So it's going to start at the end of the month. If you are interested, you can send us a message. I mean, you can search for Tech Tribe, LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram. Send us a message if you're interested, and we'll guide you appropriately. If you're on one of our WhatsApp groups, you can also send us a message. You can send any of admins of the group a message that you're interested in, and we'll add you to the mentorship group. So thank you everyone once again, and this is Tech Tribe bringing to you webinar on starting your cloud journey in 2026, delivered by Olamide Abolaji, the tech lead of Makintouch and first and only AWS authorized instructor in West Africa. All right, and have a good night. Bye, everyone.
All right.